Hi, this is Debbie. Welcome back with Cheyenne Wyoming Urban Gardener, and we are getting some more seeds started today. I have my potting soil here. It's just basically potting mix. That's all I use to start seeds, and we've got that into a couple of old recycled clamshells here. I'm going to be planting leeks today in these, as well as some bell peppers to get those started. So we've got our soil in our clamshells right now. And I have it sitting in a larger top of another clamshell, or actually a cake top. And I've got it filled with water so that way it is wetting the soil from beneath. And then I'm getting ready to put water on top. I'm just going to use the sprayer out of my sink, get this all damp up here. And you want to make sure that you get any large pieces of wood or anything out of these. And also I wanted everyone to bear in mind that last gardening season, because of the pandemic and everything, there was a lot of people that decided to start growing gardens. So what happens with that is we had a shortage on compost as well as potting soil and things like that. So there has to be a preparation process to make more potting soil, more compost, and it has to sit for a while. Unfortunately, a lot of the newer potting soils, because they haven't had the time to sit properly as they should and actually break down, you are getting larger pieces of wood that is still left behind like this in these potting soils. So just make sure you get these pieces out. You can use a laundry basket, by the way, that has a small hole, or any type of like mesh screen. A lot of people back in earlier days, like decades ago, would use mesh screens to sift the soil and get all of those bigger pieces out. So just make sure you go through your soil, get those big pieces out, get them tossed, or just put them back into the compost and let them break down more. And then you can get those soils prepped for planting. So we're going to go ahead and get those seeds started. All right, and I actually went to a garden center to pick up some seeds. Well, we just went there actually for kind of a pleasure trip. So we live in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and the nearest larger city is Fort Collins in Colorado. So we went there, and they have a garden center. They actually have a few of them that are quite large, that are already starting to get plants in and things like that. Cheyenne, Wyoming's nurseries and garden centers don't really have a whole lot of selection. They don't really start getting plants in until more towards May. So there's not a whole lot of support for people who are starting their own seeds. So we went to this garden center, and they happened to have some organic seeds, some that were actually collected in the local area, such as Renee's Garden. So we went ahead and picked up some of those seeds, and we're going to get those started today. This is going to be the King Richard's leek, which is an earlier day leek. It gets ready, mature quicker in about 75 days. And some of the other leek styles, like American, I think it's American flag leek or something like that, they get ready a lot later. So they can go 110, 115 days. But still, with these leeks, you need to start them, if you're going to start them indoors, about 6 to 8 weeks prior to your first frost. So that way you can get them outdoors, get them transplanted. So these are 75 days to maturity, and the same style as far as getting them started inside. Says recommended 8 to 10 weeks before your average last frost date. I've done 6 to 8 weeks. So I'm going to go ahead and get those started today, and they plant at 1/4 inches deep. Now, regularly, if you're planting them outdoors, you would need to plant 3 seeds together in a space of about 6 inches. But since I am starting them indoors in the clamshell, I'm just going to plant them sort of just all over the place in that clamshell and just get them started, and I'll separate them from there. So that is what we're doing right now, planting them 1/4 inches deep. I've already got the soil over them right now, and I'm getting ready to damp the upper part of the soil, and then we will get started on the next seeds. All right, and now we have that damp. I still have a little few pieces of wood in there, but it won't actually affect anything because they're not really that large, as you can see. And I am reusing some plant tags that I picked up from Dollar Tree last season. And all I do with these to get them cleaned up is at the end of the garden season, what I noticed is if you just take a little bit of sand or dirt in your hand and you just rub it across, it will actually rub off all of the prior lettering. So that way you can just reuse that. And I'm going to label this with the type of leek that it is and the date today. So that way we can go ahead and know exactly when the 8 to 10 weeks is going to be before we get them outside. And I will be planting these outside probably around the first week of June, just because they're leeks. Maybe even towards the middle part of May if we have a definite that the weather's going to be good. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it don't. Here in Cheyenne, Wyoming, I am in garden zone 5A/5B. It can go either way some years. And always when you're planting onions, because I've also gotten my onions already started, make sure you're looking in the Cheyenne, Wyoming area for long day onions or midday onions. So you really have to do your research on the onion types to make sure that you're getting long day or midday, because the short day will not work here. They just will not do very well. They do better in the south. All right, and we have that all planted up, and now you can see our little tags in there. They are recycled from last season. Actually, I just pulled them right out of the garden, cleaned them off. Anyway, we've got on the left side some giant Marconi peppers, keystone resistant giant peppers, and these are a little bit harder to see because I had to kind of just stick them in there. King of the North pepper and sweet long pepper blend. Some of these are seeds that I saved. These are also seeds that I got from Etsy. And then one of them, actually two of them, are from a packet that I had of some seeds. And these seeds are not very young. They're actually older seeds. So I'm not expecting the germination quality to be fantastic on them. But I do expect that I will see a bit of germination out of them. Anyway, you can see we got plenty of vermiculite in there and all the good nutrients that come with that potting soil. This is a Miracle Grow potting soil. Don't usually use it, but it was on sale, potting mix. So that's what I went with this year. And I've got a huge bag outside that I picked up from Sam's Club that was cheaper than if I had bought like 1 cubic foot. So anyway, we've got all of that in there. I've got the lid on my leeks, and I'll be putting the lid onto my peppers, and that kind of creates like a little mini greenhouse with these recycled clamshells, and then you can reuse them from year to year as long as they don't start breaking down or anything. And then of course this is the top of a cake that I had purchased, and you just make sure that it doesn't leak or anything, and then you just can slide it right onto any racks that you have, or even just sit it in a windowsill if you have a really wide windowsill. Sometimes that's what I will do. I have some windowsill seed starters. I haven't really located them yet because they're outside, and our weather has not been the greatest, and today we're actually supposed to get a snowstorm. Anyway, if you enjoyed that little kind of tutorial on planting seeds, again, 1/4 inch deep for the peppers on all of them, so not really too difficult. I kind of just place the seeds is what I do on top of the soil, and then I just layer another 1/4 inch of soil on top, and then I wet everything down once it's finished. And you can see kind of just like the beaded moisture on this. And then when you close these clamshells, that's kind of what you want to watch for, is that it does have some beaded moisture on it. So that way you know the humidity is working on trying to keep everything in here moist, and you shouldn't have to water this very often as long as you've got it in these clamshells with the lids on top. And again, we've got those King Richard leeks, everything all started here. And let me just go ahead and show you how my other seeds are doing that we started about a week ago. And real quickly, I just wanted to show you my Fuchsia plant, the one that was kind of struggling before. As you can see, it now has blooms on it. and leaves are coming back onto it. I did trim it up a little bit, and it encouraged more blooms. And you can see all the blooms here, and you can see my dog. That's Thumbelina right now. She's taking a nap. You can see she's covering her eyes with the corner of the bed. She's always pretty cute like that. And my basil, the one that I grew all winter long, still doing amazing. We have cut it back so many times. I'm going to have to cut it back again, actually. This was cut off not very long ago, and it has already came back out. You can see all the new growth in there, here as well. And then probably late in the summer, I'll let it go ahead and go to seed so we can collect the seeds for the next season after that. So looking beautiful on the basil. And this is the marjoram seeds that we planted not very long ago. It's only been about a week and a half. And you can see these marjoram are doing pretty well. I didn't have very good germination because the seeds were extremely old. I've had these seeds for years and years. But I did have 3 of them come up and stay strong. And those will continue spreading on out. It's kind of like a vining type of plant, at least for me. And I've had it bloom and all kinds of things. And so it's going to be continuing to do that. I might plant some more seeds in here just to get some more germination out of it. And these are the mandarin oranges that we transplanted, and they are doing fantastically. They have caught on and are starting to put on some new growth. You can see a couple of new leaves there. And again, that is the mandarin oranges. And I may get a couple more lemon trees started because everybody keeps asking me for lemon trees, and they're just really simple to do. And this is some plants that my daughter picked up from that garden center that we were talking about a little bit earlier. I have not seen anything yet on one of the seeds that I planted in here for a mandarin orange. So I have not seen that one come up. So I may go ahead and just get that one replanted again. This is the lavender. I planted this, one of the first things I planted. And as you can see in there, it is starting to really take off. I've got 3 of those that stayed strong. I did have 4, but 3 have stayed strong, and they will go ahead and continue spreading out. And I'll probably get some more seeds in there too. And again, those were some really old lavender seeds that I had. And then here is the tomatoes and cabbage and broccoli and everything that I planted. You can see they're coming up and going strong. I did not have very good germination on my cauliflower. In fact, not at all. So I'm going to go ahead and get that replanted and see if we can get that going. But I had really good germination on my broccoli. Some of them are still coming up. It's kind of hard to see in there. And some of the cabbage is still coming up. And I didn't have very good germination on red cabbage. That's kind of an every year kind of deal. I feel that those are a lot different than just the regular standard cabbage. But I do still have some coming up in here, and I'll get some more seeds replanted in there. Not a big deal on those. Had really good germination on my super sauce tomatoes, as you can see. And yeah, the plants look a little spindly, but don't pay any attention to that because once it starts warming up a little bit more, we will be opening up the windows. And every so often I come in here and just move the plants around with my hand. That makes the stem a lot stronger. And we'll get these transplanted pretty soon as soon as some of the other ones get a little bit bigger. You can see some are just now coming up. And again, these have only been planted about a week and a half. And yellow pear tomatoes, they are doing fantastically. Not having any issues with those whatsoever. The giant tomatillos we still have coming up. Got pretty good germination on those. I don't really need that many, so I'm not worried about a whole lot of them coming up. But again, that cauliflower didn't have any come up. The seeds were old, so we'll just find out if we can get any germination out of them whatsoever. But these cabbages, they look great, and these are the early round Dutch cabbage. So looking forward to that. And I do have some new red acre cabbage that was in the group of seeds that I picked up from the garden center. So I'll get those done. I did not have any germination whatsoever on the white Spanish onions, and I got those from Etsy. So it was a different company that I normally go with in Etsy. So I'm not happy with that, and I'll get those replanted and see if we can get any to come up. But it's kind of getting later in the season to start onion seeds. So I'm not sure if I'm going to get any out of that. I may end up having to get some onion sets. No big deal. We can deal with that or slips. But I did have good germination on the red ruby onions and also the Walla Walla onions, and they were an entirely different company. So those are doing really, really well. It's still coming up. There's still a lot of really fresh new ones that are coming up in there. So looking at that, good germination, I may just go ahead and plant some more of the Walla Wallas over here instead of putting the white Spanish again. So anyway, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you want notices on new videos as they come out, and we shall see you in the next one. And happy planting!